I see RVs all the time in people's driveways, all the time. What would you say to those people to kind of put them at ease and say, hey, you can be making some money off your RV instead of just storing it for who knows what, 3/4 of the year? What would be something that you could say to them and say, look, it's not a scary thing to rent your RV out?
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, the stats are privately owned RVs sit unused 49 weeks out of the year, almost
Wow.
50 weeks out of the year. So that's 95% of the time. It's the same as your car. Your car sits unused 95% of the time, right? If you commute 1 hour to work and 1 hour back, that's 2 out of 24. That's about 95, 92.5 or whatever the number is percent of the time, but it's every day. RVs sit completely unused 95% of the time. Then 5% of the time they sit unused 95% of the time. So for that unused asset, you can make a lot of money. And we see different people coming in and hosting. We see people hosting who were thinking of buying an RV, were kind of borderline, were worried about the costs, and they bought it knowing they could rent it on RVnGO. We've talked to those people. And they know they've got the insurance that covers them for damage to the RV. They've got the liability insurance that covers both the guest and the host up to $1 million, and damage to the RV up to $200,000. And I will mention why that's important. A lot of the hosts are out there trying to save money, and their policies, which are the same price as ours, provide $1 million liability coverage for the host, but provide often statutory minimums for the drivers. That's kind of a cheap way out there. And the statutory minimum could be $5,000 or $10,000 only.
Really?
And yeah. So you have people driving these RVs thinking they're insured. They get in an accident and it's a financial and potentially medical or physical disaster because they can't get treatment and they're not insured. And if you think as a host, you're insured in that scenario, yeah, your insurance paid out your part, but now you're going to get sued because you just told somebody you had insurance. And in fact, they had like $10,000. So that's one thing we take care of. So that's peace of mind for the host. They know both sides are covered. We're just completely upfront here. They've got coverage for the RV. There is work involved to turn it over, clean them. And we always recommend putting aside a little bit of the rental money for wear and tear and incidentals that happen. But we still see people making overwhelming profits from it, money. And what we often see is somebody trying out casually and go, oh, wow, that went really well. I'm going to start doing it full time. Oh, I made enough money. I'm buying a second RV, a third RV, a fifth RV. So we have people who don't really have, people who bought an RV thinking they're going to offset the prices and it works. And they make it back a little bit of the money and it makes it, they basically can RV for free. Or we have people who, whatever, had a life-changing event, maybe a divorce, maybe somebody got sick in the family. So we have one host, her husband became sick and, had bills starting to pile up, and they had a huge, beautiful RV in the driveway that nobody could drive anymore. So she started to rent it out to make ends meet. And now she's got 5 RVs, and could have more, but decided to kind of, stay within what she can handle and maintain. Also for the hosts, I would say beyond our insurance, there's roadside assistance that the guests can take. So it takes away some of the risk there. And some of our hosts insist on it so that there isn't an issue with towing the vehicle if there is a breakdown. That covers it, for free for the daily rate or the nightly rates that's charged. I would just say the final thing is a couple of things. First of all, we vet all the guests, all the drivers, and we verify that their driver's license is valid, et cetera. They need to talk about their driving record with us and obviously validate their payment information. And they just know ahead of time that everything is taken care of. Compared to, let's say I wanted to rent my RV outside of RVnGO. Maybe I want to go to Facebook Marketplace or something like that, or just Craigslist or the local newspaper. Well, problem number 1 is you don't have insurance. Yeah. So you need to go get that. Problem number 2 is there's always that awkward meeting on the bridge, where you exchange the hostages. Here's the money for the keys, hopefully everything works out. The check doesn't bounce and the keys work. And so on our platform, the guest until they check in. Once they check in, even then they still have 24 hours to say, this is not as represented. I'm returning the RV, and we'll at least refund your money, and we'll try and, place you in another RV that does meet your requirements. So they have that assurance. Also, when they're shopping around on our site, their privacy is respected, and the hosts don't see them until they start, confirm the transaction, make a payment. Then just like really Airbnb. So you're anonymous up until that point. So if you're going out and, shopping around on Facebook or Craigslist, I mean, you're giving up your personal information to start communicating, and, who knows where that'll lead. On our site, you're anonymous until you make that connection in the transaction. Then, of course, they need to be able to communicate with each other to make arrangements. Also, for the host, you're anonymous in the sense that your RV will only be listed in your zip code, and people don't know your specific address or won't see your email or phone number until, you decide to transact. And even then, they won't see your address. It's just trying to make it even more comfortable than Airbnb. When Airbnb started, like, everybody thought there's no way people are going to rent out their homes or rooms in their homes, and they do, right? So they're willing to take that step. And I think RVing in a way is easier because, if you want, you can arrange for pickup at your local Walmart and, go shopping right there and, exchange the keys and et cetera. So we see that. So that's some of the things we do. And I think the final one is peer reviews. So both on Camp and Go and RVnGO, we just really want to bring people closer together and kind of cut out the middlemen. And so where it's and these are legitimate reviews. It's not like, I'm not going to name any review sites that start with the letter Y, but, you never know. That review could be from employees or the owner or whatever. Right. On our site, it's a validated review. It can only be given as part of a transaction if there was a transaction. So there's none of that.
You actually have a lot of layers of safety built in on both ends. I think that's wonderful. I think that would sell anybody on the idea of right there that there's almost risk-free. If they just want to try it, they can just try it for one time, twice, and see how it goes, and pull out and be like, nah, you know what? It wasn't really for me for whatever reason.
Yeah. And right. Or I liked it, but maybe I'm not ready to buy, so I'll just rent it again next week or next month or next year. And, I think one final thing, even Airbnb, that where we're better than somebody like Airbnb. If somebody trashes the house on Airbnb, they just go create a new profile, a new account under a new Yahoo address, and off they go. If somebody, and you see this all the time, if somebody starts getting bad reviews on their property, they change the address because it's all done by the address. Now, they don't actually move the house. When you show up at the address, and I've used Airbnb quite a bit, it's like, this is the key pickup management office, and they change that around. And you get the keys there, then they drive you to the house. It's like, what the heck is this? This doesn't, this isn't what I said it was or whatever. On our site, the driver has a driver's license. And so you can't get away from it. And we've got that uploaded. And the host has a VIN number. They have to have that. And it's valid. So they can't just start switching things around and go, oh, wait, that's a VIN number. We got you. So that's another nice feature.
So that was a pretty fast hour of chatting. It went by really quick. A lot of good education about RVnGO and about the rental industry in general. If people are interested either to rent an RV on RVnGO or to host an RV on RVnGO, is the best place to start just go to RVnGO.com?
Absolutely. And www.RVnGO.com. And there's information there. There's a help center, but there's also a 1-800 number or toll-free number you can call at the bottom. And we have a concierge team that can answer any questions, as well as, there's a little chat bot that'll come up and you're talking to a real person, not a robot. Right here beside me, the call center. So if you hear some noise in the background, that might be some of them. And, get all the information you want. And just kind of join the movement, join the family.